Hey there, it is Rachel, and as I talk to parents about the quote-unquote drama in their homes, one of the things that comes up over and over when it comes to drama is when we ask our kids to get off of their devices. And a lot of parents will say to me, Rachel, I've asked my child nicely to get off of their device, I've given them warnings, I've given them a 10-minute warning and a 2-minute warning and a 1-minute warning, but when it's time to get off their device, they still get so upset and perhaps even disrespectful or defiant. What is going on? And I want to tell you that the reason there is so much drama when you ask your child to get off of their device, even when you've given them warnings, is that it's actually very hard for the human brain to disengage from something and go to the next thing, regardless of how many warnings we get. And I actually want to give you an example so you can think about this. Imagine you are texting a friend and you're thinking about how you want to say something to them because you don't want to offend them. You want to come across as in a certain way, and you're just thinking about how do I want to put this text. And your child comes up to you while your mind is thinking about how you want to send this text and what you want to say. They come up to you and they say, hey mom or hey dad, and they try to get your attention. Well, while your mind is engaged in figuring out how you want to send this text, it's going to be very annoying for them to try to pull you out of that headspace. Now, imagine you say to them, hey, I'm in the middle of doing something. Can you come back in 5 minutes? And they say, sure, fine, I'll come back in 5 minutes. Well, if in 5 minutes you're still engaged in either trying to figure out what to say in this text, or you're talking to your friend and maybe it's a heated discussion so your attention is all on there, when they come back in 5 minutes, just like you told them to, just like you knew was going to happen, if you're still engaged in what you're doing, you're still not going to want to stop what you're doing and refocus your attention on your child. In fact, it's not that you don't want to, it's very difficult to do that. Once the human brain is engaged in something, it's very hard to disengage. We are task-oriented creatures and we want to finish the task that we are focused on in that moment. And the same thing happens with our kids. So we give them the warnings, the 10-minute, 2-minute, 1-minute warning, but when the timer goes off or when it's time to get off of their device, they're still engaged in that thing and it's very uncomfortable. So I do have a couple of tips with you that keeps this in mind. And the first tip I have is when your child gets on their device, one of the things that you can do is have them come up with an end point before they even get onto their device. So they can say to you, okay, a really good stopping point would be, and then their brain knows not what time something is going to end, but what that stopping point will be. Because if you think about it, if you are finished with that conversation you were having with your friend on text, it's very easy to then, once that conversation's over and there's some closure or a stopping point, then you can pay attention to your child. And that's the same thing with our kids. When they have a natural stopping point, it's much easier for them to shift their attention. Now, if you haven't done this, but you still need them to get off of their device, one of the things you can do is walk over to them, notice what they're doing, and actually get into their world with them. Notice where they are engaged. So say to them, wow, you're watching this show where this happened. Can you tell me how that went as we walk to the dinner table? So you actually have them talk to you about what they're doing as they move to the next task. Then instead of yanking them out of the world where they are, you're getting into that world with them and slowly helping them disengage. And actually changing the scenery as they're walking to the dinner table can help them disengage even more. So in this way, when you recognize that they need stopping points and that you can slowly help them disengage, you are working with their brains instead of against their brains, and it goes much more smoothly. There's a lot less drama. If you want to learn more about how to raise kids with big emotions where there does tend to be drama, I have a free video series and there's a link to it beneath this video that you can click on to give you other examples of how you can deal with situations which might right now not be going so well. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you again soon.